Trump's first 2 marriages. But I just want to say that huge is not a good enough word for what this man will bring to the White House. We finally have a real American who transcends mundane liberal ideas like specifics. For far too long, we have not had a giant wall on the Mexican border. And Donald Trump is the man who will build a giant wall on the Mexican border across all the mountains, all the deserts, all the valleys, all the private property, all the commercial property, no matter how much it costs, so the people of Mexico won't have to see our crumbling walls and bridges. Who was born at the top of the economic ladder, who's convincing people in the middle of the economic ladder that their problems come from low-wage, below minimum wage immigrants on the bottom of the economic ladder. And God bless Donald Trump for telling the truth, whatever that is.
I just want to say one other thing about Trump that we all have to remember. There's so many racial problems in this country. Black people, white people. Who can solve it? An orange person.
Exactly. Orange lives matter. I'm pretty tired of those Mexican illegal immigrants being responsible for all the outsourcing, deindustrialization, and automation of American jobs.
Hello, this is Niswander. I'm here at Politicon with John Fugelsang. John, thank you for being on the NOWMAN Show.
Thank you.
Now, we just got through seeing satire, I'm assuming.
My part was.
Your part was. So, for those that might have been coming in late who didn't know what was going on, are you now a conservative? Or?
I think most sane people are progressive and conservative in some ways. I think people who are just all one or the other are kind of like people a little too into Star Trek. So, you know, I think our commonalities outweigh our differences.
Yes, it was brilliant. I just have to tell you it's brilliant, and can't wait to show it, some of it to our audience in the show. And I ask this of most of my guests, if not all of them, depending. I think we need a new renaissance. What can we do together to help make the world a better place?
Well, I mean, I know there are those who would say we're in a tech renaissance, but to make the world a better place, you know, on a practical level, you got to get money out of politics in America. That's the square root of all of our problems. But on a bigger level, America needs love. We need more love in our hearts. We need more love we give to others. We need to receive more love from others. And I think that only when love can replace the anxiety and fear and competitiveness and strife that defines American life for so many of us, can we have the kind of society where someone won't feel so desperate enough that they'll want to take a gun and hurt a lot of people, where they'll want to outsource jobs and decimate a community, where they'll want to put low-income people in prison for consensual crimes that don't hurt anyone. I think that we need more empathy, and I think that we need more love, and I don't know how that's going to happen, but you know, we all get to choose every day if you're going to generate more angst or more love, and I think that's the sort of thing that has to be done on a very personal, individual, one-by-one level.
I agree, and we can start doing that right now. This is Niswander. I'm with John Fugelsang on the NOWMAN Show.
An avid political enthusiast. Yes, give it up for yourself, political enthusiast. Since we've been brought here by Politicon to do this entertainment for you all, everyone's always talking about the Founding Fathers whenever there is some sort of election. So we thought, well, maybe we should just be here for once to respond to it. Sure. But I'm so confounded by these times. Everything's so different now. I've written a song, and my good friend Madison here helped me write it as well.
James Madison, calling me sweetheart.
Yes, sir, you are. And we'd love to sing this for you right now. Where are the gas lights? Where are the horses? Where is the Postmaster General delivering letters to me? Where is the art? Where is the culture? What is it that people do with a minute or two they have free? Where is the life I've had hundreds of years to inspire? Where is the love all I I see is the greedy desire. Can there be more? Or that I absorbed by this higher scene? This life in forward times, what can it mean? Where is the schoolhouse? Where is it? Where is the know-how? Where's the bountiful knowledge that thousands of colleges bring? Where is my passion? Where is my muse now? What amongst all the rubble is worth all the trouble to craft into lyrics and sing? Where is the life, despite all of these modern advances? Where is the love? Well, I try but get no second glances. Marian, can there be more to this harsh and new place that I've not yet seen? This life in forward times, these fast forward times, the second chance at life, what can it mean? Thank you.
This is Niswander. We are about to check out a panel discussion on the topic of big money, big politics. Let's check it out.
And then in 2012, Bill was in charge of Obama's super PAC. So he's going to be uniquely capable of helping us understand super PACs. And we've also got Clay Aiken, whom some of you might remember from his unsuccessful bid to unseat Renee Elmers. It was in North Carolina's 2nd district. So for political junkies, this is a thrill. Dennis Kucinich, when he gets here, he was a veteran Democratic lawmaker in the House of Representatives and a presidential candidate, so he knows all about this stuff. And we'll get right into it. Money in politics. We've had the Supreme Court and some other court decisions really chipping away at laws that have been put up over half a century to make the government look less corrupt. And Citizens United in 2010 was the really big one. People were like, this decision will unleash a flood of money. It's going to blow people's minds. The monopoly man is going to send democracy directly to jail. And not everyone actually agrees that that has happened, but it's an argument. Like today, the New York Times had this incredible story. Fully half of all the money that's been raised in this campaign so far has come from just 150 really rich dudes. And that's like not how it was before. This is new and unusual. So I wanted to ask, we'll start with Bill, what has changed? How does this change campaigning? Help us understand what's going on.
Well, it's a disaster, basically, that such a small group of people can give so much money and have that kind of influence on a presidential campaign, or any level campaign, really. The Supreme Court opened the door to corporations giving money, which is a whole new floodgate of cash that's flowing into these elections. And, I think that on the Democratic side, there are a lot of people who give a lot of money. There's even more on the Republican side. But if you look at Democrats, just take my super PAC, for example. If you look at the people who gave...
What is the name of that super PAC?
Priorities USA.
Okay.
Action, actually.
I thought there was an
Action.
action in there. Yeah, these super PACs have good names.
When Bill Maher gave us $1 million, he asked if Borat had named our super PAC.
Are they like running out of names for super PACs?
Actually, we went through 100 different names before our lawyers let us
refrigerator magnet poetry. Okay, Congressman Kucinich is here. Thank you.
Great to join you.
All right, so we went over Citizens United,
Good,
and
well.
Bill Burton is explaining why it sucks.
So I don't have to stay there. Go ahead, Bill.
Welcome. But anyway, if you look at the super PAC, we received donations from anywhere from $1,000 to $3, $4, $5 million. None of those people who gave that money became ambassadors or even entered government service.
But do we know who they are? I mean, do you provide a list?
Yeah, because on the one side, well, most of them. there's a group of them, there's two groups, right? One of them was a 527, a super PAC. The other one was a 501c4. We modeled it after Crossroads, Karl Rove's group, because we thought, we might not like the rules, but we're not going to get run over by rules just because we're not playing by the ones that there are. So we did have another group because we thought there might be some Democrats who were interested in giving money the way Republicans did, which is anonymously. But it turned out that was the vast minority of the cash that we raised. But none of those folks went on to get huge positions. And I think for that reason, it's hard to get campaign finance reform during a Democratic administration because the motivation for giving money is slightly different on the Democratic side versus the Republican side. On the Republican side, it's an investment, right? If you're Sheldon Adelson and you give $500 million, you know you're going to make upwards of $2-3 billion if there's a Republican president. So it's actually a pretty good return on your money. If you're a Democrat, you know your taxes are going to go up if your candidate wins. So it's a different thing. So I actually think that it's hard to get reform because corruption is just much less obvious on the Democratic side for the purposes that people give.
All right, Clay Aiken, we're talking about the money in politics, all this money is sloshing around, but what is actually happening? Like, what's the money for? How do you get it? And you know all about this. There's a great mini-series that followed you for your campaign. It's called Runner Up, and it was on the Esquire network. And tell us what you had to do to try to get money and what you would do with the money.
What did I not have? I mean, there were very few things that I didn't have to do. I actually didn't run the campaign that a lot of people wanted me to. I didn't run the campaign that the DCCC would have asked that I run, which would have been 40 hours a week on the phone. And I fought with my campaign manager daily, hourly, about not doing enough call time, not being on the phone 40 hours a week. And I ran in a very rural district, which was admittedly incredibly Republican, and I knew that going in. There were no Democratic donors in the 2nd District, which meant that I spent my entire time during call time calling people in Ohio, calling people in Minnesota, calling people in New York or LA to ask for money. And when you do that, I inevitably get into conversations with these donors about policy issues that are important to them. Now, I think I have been able or was able to kind of maintain my core throughout it, but I would find myself, as soon as I got on the phone with someone, quickly Googling Dennis Kucinich to make sure that I didn't accidentally offend him on the phone. I don't have to Google you, but the point is, make sure I don't offend them on the phone and not get that $2,600 that I'm after. And so, in addition to taking politics out of the grassroots level and keeping me from talking to the people who needed to be represented, the people who didn't have two dimes to rub together, are the people who you fought for, the people who I wanted to fight for. Those are not the people who politicians these days are now spending any time at all talking to. Instead, they're talking on the phone to someone in Manhattan in hopes that they'll give them money and probably placating their policy desires also. I watch West Wing a lot, and I thought that people who work on political campaigns came in and they volunteered to help raise money or put out signs. People make so much money teaching you how to raise money. People make so much money in politics handing you lists of people to call or connecting you with the big donors, successfully or not. So there's a database out there of people to call and ask for money from.
Can I just, in defense of the DCCC?
First of all, what is the DCCC? That's the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and it helps organize candidates, give you some helpful pointers.
Yeah, I mean, its purpose is to help candidates win elections and put more Democrats in the House of Representatives. It was, I worked there in 2005 and 2006 when Rahm Emanuel was the chairman, and I lived to tell the tale. But it was, every day was great. We won the House back, Nancy Pelosi became Speaker, and it was a lot of fun. Anyway, the reason that they encourage candidates to spend 20, 30, 40 hours a week on the phone is because the way that you can communicate with voters is putting ads on television or doing them digitally or sending mail to voters and letting them know who you are, what you stand for, and why you disagree with the other person. on whatever issue it is. And the reason that there are ads on TV are so that you can do the best you can to make your case either in 30 seconds or in a mail piece. And that's why the DCCC does what they do. But I fully respect not wanting to do that because it sucks. Right? It's like
Congressman, just because, and I want you to talk most of the time, but just because the DCCC has a reason, and you're absolutely right. I mean, we didn't have the money to run enough ads. Were we able to run more ads? It's like I said, it was a Republican district. We probably still would have won, but it still doesn't make it okay for that to be the motivator. And this is what you have to do. You have to raise money. Yes, there are rules that are in place that make it impossible to win if you don't raise money, but I'm still not going to sell my soul to the devil or to the devil of money in order to run a campaign.
Amen. Let me pick up on that as somebody who's actually run, not counting presidential races, 40 elections, primaries and generals, 132 of them. And in almost every one, I was outspent. Almost every single one of them, I was outspent. So, what do? How do you get your message out? And I don't care if you started the career 50 years ago or 5 days ago. The fact of the matter is, the enduring way that you can win campaigns at a district level, I'm speaking from my own experience, not from theory, is that you make an intensive effort to get out and reach people. In a period of 2 years, with the help of a very skilled scheduler and campaign assistant, I was able in the greater Cleveland area to cover over 2,000 events. If people were gathered in a telephone booth, I was there. It didn't matter, just to contact people. And that's the first thing. The second thing is to be active on local issues that have saliency with local constituencies, to show people how you would solve the challenges that exist at a community level. And I was very involved in that. And being involved in local issues, you actually find a way to get media for free. The idea that paid media is the only way is not necessarily true. And then there's the change that's taken place with social media today, the ability to really organize people without having to spend a lot of money. And then as I moved on to Congress for a period of 16 years, most of the fundraising we did was on the internet. And we were able to raise money to stay competitive with candidates who were raising a tremendous amount of money from political action committees. And with respect to the DCCC, I had my own experience. When I got elected to Congress on my 5th try over a period of 25 years. It's a lot of door knocking. And when I won the nomination in 1996, the first thing that happened is the DCCC knocked on my door. They said, here's $62,500 or whatever. Now give us the keys to your campaign. And I directed them to a district far south of this planet. And told them that I really didn't need their support because I understood my district, and after the election I'd be glad to talk to them. When I was in Washington, I met with the head of the DCCC. We had a big, we had a good laugh over that. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't control your own campaign, these ideas of campaigns being run by remote control from Washington is bad news, because they care even less about the people you represent. And the other thing is, while I'd like to think that being a Democrat makes someone a little bit more honorable, less corruptible, and less able to be bought, I'd like to think that. But when the Democrats started to take corporate contributions years ago from the same people the Republicans were raising money from, it really blurred the differences between the two parties. So then our caucus meetings, as a Democrat, we'd have these caucus meetings every week, and we talked about 3 things at these caucus meetings. Number 1, polls. Number 2, fundraising. Number 3, how bad the Republicans are. And the Republicans had a different approach. They talked about polls, fundraising, and how bad the Democrats were. So, the heart and soul of politics has really been corrupted by campaign spending laws and Supreme Court decisions, but still, each one of us who really cares for people still has the ability to pursue our own path to election.
So the campaign we've got going on right now has this guy in it named Donald Trump. And part of his shtick, not the biggest part, but part of it is, I can't be bought. I used to buy and sell politicians myself, but you can't buy me because I'm so rich. I'm using my own money. And campaign finance reformers like, well, this is what we've been talking about. He's showing you how corrupt the process has been, but at the same time, the fact that he's just able to waltz in because he's rich also shows that the process is broken because money is such a barrier. So, what sort of solutions could there be for this Trump phenomenon?
Well, I actually think that Donald Trump's message on campaign finance is one of the reasons that he's got such durable support. It's because people, that minority of Americans who look at Donald Trump giving a finger to the system and calling other politicians out for the sort of influence that they can have with donations, is very attractive to people who are angry with Washington and who believe what Congressman Kucinich just said, that people in Washington don't care about the people in their districts. Like, that is something that's very attractive to them. But, the truth is, as long as we're in this system, that's what it is. Like, people who give huge checks have undue influence, and people who give $2,600 checks or $2,700 checks, which is the max for a congressional campaign, they have undue influence. And the truth is, donors should have some influence, but it shouldn't be that you have to be wealthy and be able to cut a check for $2,700. You should be able to make a contribution of $25 or $50 and still have some influence over your government and these campaigns. But I do have to take exception with what Congressman Kucinich is saying, that people in Washington, be it at the DCCC or somewhere else, not caring about folks in the district. It's not true. The people who work at those committees are dedicated progressives who went to Washington because they actually did care about communities, and they did care about the issues that Democrats matter. I'm going to finish my point. I'm going to finish my point. And so for you to insult those people and say that they don't care, it's just frankly not true.
What was the insult?
Oh, he was just saying that the folks there don't care about people in the districts, and that's not true. Like, they went to Washington because they did care about folks out across the country.
I don't know if everybody goes to Washington because they care about
let me answer him, okay? Look, I'm not a theoretician on this. I've been there. And let me give you an example. Nancy Pelosi is a friend of mine. We took over the leadership of the Congress. I was a committee, chairman of a subcommittee, terrific. But when we had sufficient information to put an impeachment against George Bush, she wouldn't touch it. And I just say that was of interest to my constituents. When we had, later on, the ability as a party to block the bailouts of Wall Street, no, Wall Street had its hooks into our leaders as well, which devastated Main Street with the practices of hedge funds. So, I'm not going to get moist-eyed about what party politicians do and what they say and how they care about people at a community level. One of the reasons why you're seeing tectonic shifts in the plates of politics in this country today is that people are waking up a little bit more and understanding that Washington doesn't give a damn about them. There's a bubble inside the Beltway. I know this. I saw it. I fought it for 16 years. And so, I appreciate everybody who cares and goes to Washington with the best intentions to work, even those at the DCCC, great. Thank you for doing that. But excuse me, I have 16 years of experience that I can go back on, and I see how money has corrupted the system, has corrupted both political parties, and has created the necessity of a third way in American politics that can challenge both parties' hegemony and the hold that corporations have on both parties.
Well, this is Niswander with the NOWMAN Show. I'm here with Congressman Kucinich. Thank you for being on the NOWMAN Show.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
Now, we just heard a talk about big money in politics. Do you think that's the biggest challenge, the biggest problem facing our country right now?
It's a challenge, and it's a big one, but I don't think that we can arrange the challenges in which we face in terms of what's a priority. Everything's important. We have to think holistically about those challenges. So the degradation of the planet, it should concern all of us. War and the United States unbearable imperialism. That's a problem. Trade laws that don't allow for workers' rights, human rights, environmental quality principles. We need to change that. There are the fact that so many young people can't get a decent education. All of these things should concern us, and we have to have the ability to be able to hold multiple goals simultaneously and pursue a newer world without saying, well, first we got to take care of this and then we take care of that. No, there's so many different things that we have to work on simultaneously, and I think we're capable of doing that.
I totally agree. I think we need a new renaissance. What can we do together to help make this world a better place?
Well, if we look back to the first historical Renaissance in which people celebrate, it was a celebration of the human spirit, the human mind, of consciousness, of our ability to express ourselves in music and in song and paintings and in literature, our growing into our own multidimensionality. And I think that every historical epic requires each of us to recreate the spirit of the times and to become attuned to those sentiments which formed that Renaissance period, which gave people a feeling of joy in living and of the power of human expressiveness. But that really comes from an awareness that this inherent joy, which is our birthright, should not be muffled or stunted by the world, that we need to use it as a springboard to recreate the world in a way that is joyous.
That's fantastic, Congressman Kucinich. I really appreciate you being on the NOWMAN Show. This is Niswander on the NOWMAN Show.
The past is gone, the future is yet to come, it's now, right now. The present is here, the future is near, but it's right now. You know, being with you makes the body complete, so keep the body moving and show your happy feet. At the end of the night, when all is said and done, I wanna know I did the right thing and had a lot of fun, and I say,
Hello, this is Niswander, the NOWMAN Show, and I'm here at Politicon with our founding fathers right now.